Did you watch The Last of Us and at some point think, the origin of this profound disaster seems terrifyingly plausible? Well, allow me to partially validate that impression for a moment. Over a period of 2 days in 1951, the town of Pont-Saint-Espéry in France succumbed to a mass poisoning, the symptoms of which involved severe hallucinations and compulsive violence. 7 people died. The blame was primarily put on a dangerous fungus that had found its way into the wheat supply of a single bakery. Numerous theories about the incident have been proposed and discussed since then. Mackintosh herself says of them that none have ever been proven. And that's a more important statement than you might think here, because it essentially encapsulates one of the book's central premises. Truth is a bit of a slippery concept when you can only rely on human beings to deliver and report it. Yes, them, with their pesky desires of the ego, their imperfect capacity for memory and their corruption of their finest faculties by their neuroses, and their blasted tendency to base their decisions on emotion. This is essentially the narrator Elodie's reason for how she presents her story. It's a narrative about the complexity and inherent unreliability of narrative, and the use of this historical setting, with it being known for its distinct lack of certainty, its natural character of verisimilitude, the various explanations, both nefarious and academic, for it, serves to assimilate that artistic function. All of the characters are fond of embellishment, sometimes to the point of outright pride and masochism. And you'd be right in thinking that the narrator herself is of that unreliable ilk by this point. In fact, Elodie inadvertently admits it in the novel's very opening, and rhetorically it's quite the rich one. When I recall the first time I met Violet, it embarrasses me. I don't think said embarrassment refers to the retrospective feeling toward the event of their meeting. It's the effort of the recollection that she's struggling with. She's not convinced by it for what it seems to miss about the inherent romanticism, as she sees it, of the experience. She goes on, saying, "I hold the memories up to the light and think, did it really happen like this?" Perhaps it's the name Violet, but the imagery of such a notion is heavy with a sense of artificiality, hence it almost becomes diagnostic, like a doctor inspecting x-rays of interior trauma as if a process of improvement is underway, a process of doctoring, if you will. This is followed by interrogatives that seem, indeed, to interact, gently but quickly coaxing a different register from the narration. The heavy suggestion of forthcoming modification, the writing's change into something more impressionistic than mimetic, behind that one fragmentary interrogative, more generously, is the first signpost of the reader's upcoming, fragmented ride. Then the prose internally deviates, syntactically, like it's convinced by its own coaxing. It becomes more resplendent, visually intense and ornate. It seems to struggle with the effort at first, the numerous connectives contributing to that impression, lending the speech a slightly stilted character. Then the penultimate sentence of the paragraph hits. It's Elodie finding the style she thinks most adequately conveys the intensity of her infatuation, the profundity of her feeling. One wonders if this is a story that has already been revisited and modified with that final clause. Perhaps it's best to be honest now. That one comma suggests a pause of consideration, of a kind of accidental honesty. It entices you to think about just how grand the supposed quote-unquote truth can be, since it'll hardly be mundane if, as she claims, no one is now around to stop her embellishing further, and, as we know, the fatal nature of the disaster to come. It's all a splendid suggestion of what the story is only partially about, the efforts, mental and social, people can go to find more significance in the past. Hence the embellishment, hence the many scenes in which one character confides in another with a deeply personal tale or a local myth. Hence Elodie's infatuation with a couple that moves to town, a pair that seemingly enjoy a far greater degree of physical intimacy and passion than she does with her husband, the baker. Jealousy, obsession, desire, perversity, sadism, and revenge form the core basic themes, some of the best wells literary works have been known to draw from. And that aforementioned outbreak lingers over many elements of the piece, seemingly influencing the behaviour of the main characters as well as the backdrop before it even hits, becoming an almost paranormal force which serves to make this not just a slightly challenging and subsequently rewarding read, not just a boldly chilling and disturbing one, but a very spooky one too.